Welcome, brave listener, to tonight's tale of shadows and forgotten lore. Let us step together into a past where mystery and dread intertwine. Whispers of the Forgotten, a tale of the witch's grave asterisk. Chapter 1, the town of Eldridge. Nestled in the heart of New England, the quaint town of Eldridge stood as a testament to resilience and time. Founded in the late 1600s, its cobblestone streets twisted like the intricate knots of an old sailor's rope, leading visitors through a labyrinth of history. The townsfolk were proud of their heritage. Tales of revolution, hardship, and survival echoed through the generations. Yet, beneath the picturesque facade lay a whisper, a secret that had been buried for centuries. It was autumn in 1888, and the air was tinged with the scent of decay. Golden leaves spiraled down from the towering oaks, carpeting the ground in hues of amber and crimson. The townspeople prepared for the harvest festival, a time for celebration after a bountiful season. Yet, as night fell, an unsettling atmosphere enveloped Eldridge. Children dared each other to venture near the town's graveyard, where shadows danced beneath the skeletal branches. Amid the anticipation of the festival, the town historian, Samuel Whittaker, had stumbled upon a collection of old letters in the attic of his late grandmother's house. These letters, yellowed and fragile, had been written by a woman named Margaret Hale, a name that rang faintly in the town's lore, associated with the infamous witch trials of the late 1600s. Margaret had been accused of witchcraft, her fate sealed by the fear and superstition that gripped Eldridge during that tumultuous period. According to the letters, she had claimed to possess knowledge of the supernatural, a legacy passed down through generations of women in her family. They spoke of rituals and whispers from the beyond, a connection to the spirits that lingered in the shadows of the graveyard. Samuel felt an inexplicable pull towards Margaret's story. Perhaps it was the fascination of the unknown or his innate desire to uncover the truth behind the town's dark past. Armed with his grandmother's letters, he set out to investigate the mysterious fate of Margaret Hale. Chapter 2. The Witch's Grave. On the eve of the harvest festival, Samuel stood before the wrought iron gates of the Eldridge graveyard, where the moon cast an ethereal glow on the weathered tombstones. A chill ran down his spine as he stepped inside, the crunch of leaves underfoot reverberating in the stillness. The graveyard was a sanctuary of secrets, where the spirits of the past mingled with the living. With the letters as his guide, Samuel searched for Margaret's grave. He could feel the weight of history pressing down on him, urging him to unveil the truth. After what felt like an eternity, he spotted a crumbling headstone, barely legible under the encroaching moss. "Margaret Hale, beloved daughter, accused witch," it read. As he knelt in front of the grave, a sudden gust of wind swept through the cemetery, rustling the leaves and carrying with it a faint whisper. Samuel froze, heart racing. The whisper seemed to call his name, beckoning him to listen. "Samuel," it murmured, echoing in the stillness. He shook his head, dismissing it as a figment of his imagination, but deep down, he felt an unsettling connection to the voice. In the dim light, he noticed what appeared to be a small, intricately carved box buried beneath the gravestone. He carefully unearthed it, his fingers trembling with anticipation. The lid creaked open to reveal a collection of trinkets, a tarnished locket, a bundle of dried herbs, and a small, weathered book. The book, though aged, was filled with Margaret's handwriting, a journal of spells, incantations, and rituals. As Samuel flipped through the pages, he felt an overwhelming sense of dread. Margaret had written of summoning spirits, seeking vengeance, and binding the souls of the damned. The weight of her words pressed heavily on him, as if the spirits themselves had awakened. Break. Chapter 3, The Gathering Storm. The night deepened, and Samuel's heart raced as he contemplated the implications of his discovery. He hurried home, clutching the journal close to his chest. The festival was tomorrow, and he couldn't shake the feeling that the events of that evening were intertwined with the town's history. As he reached his house, the wind howled outside, rattling the windows. Samuel lit a lantern and settled at his desk, the journal open before him. The words danced in the flickering light, revealing not just spells but fragments of Margaret's life. Her love for a man named William, her deep connection to nature, and the betrayal that led to her downfall. Haunted by the past, Samuel felt compelled to share his findings with the townsfolk. He believed that understanding Margaret's story could help them confront the dark legacy of fear and suspicion that had plagued Eldridge for centuries. Yet he feared the reaction. After all, superstition ran deep, and the townsfolk were not known for their acceptance of the supernatural. As dawn broke, Samuel prepared for the festival, but unease clung to him like fog on a winter's morn. The town square was alive with laughter and merriment when he arrived. Stalls adorned with pumpkins and decorations filled the square, and children ran about with painted faces. Yet beneath the surface, a tension simmered. He gathered a small group of friends: Eliza, a spirited young woman with a penchant for adventure; Thomas, a skeptical blacksmith; and Clara, a kind-hearted soul with an affinity for the mysterious. He revealed the journal and his intentions to share Margaret's story. "What if it engages the spirits?" Clara whispered, glancing nervously at the gathering crowd. "Or what if it brings us closure?" Eliza countered, her eyes shining with excitement. "We can't let fear dictate our lives, we must face the truth." Thomas frowned. "You're risking a lot, Samuel. The town may not be ready for this." Samuel pressed on, fueled by a mix of dread and determination. He could feel the spirits urging him to speak, guiding him towards the truth. They agreed to meet later that evening, after the festival faded into whispers of the night. As festivities continued, Samuel felt an unusual chill creep into the air. The lanterns flickered ominously, casting strange shadows on the cobblestones. Laughter echoed, but there was an undercurrent of something sinister, a murmur of discontent that swelled with each passing hour. As darkness descended, Samuel, Eliza, Clara, and Thomas gathered in the town hall, a sturdy building that had witnessed decades of Eldridge's trials and tribulations. He laid the journal on the table, the pages fluttering as if alive. "Listen," he implored. "This isn't just about a witch. It's about understanding our past to move forward. We've allowed fear to dictate our history for too long." Break. Chapter 4. Confronting the past. The townsfolk filed in, their faces a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Samuel clasped his hands, feeling the weight of their gazes pressing down on him. He cleared his throat, determined to share the story of Margaret Hale. "Margaret was more than just an accused witch," he began, his voice steady. "She was a healer, a woman who understood the world in ways we may not comprehend. She was wronged by those she trusted, and her legacy has been marred by fear and hatred." As Samuel recounted Margaret's tale, the atmosphere in the room shifted. Some listened intently, while others exchanged disapproving glances. Eliza spoke up, recounting tales of herbal remedies and ancient practices that had been dismissed as witchcraft. Clara added her thoughts on the importance of understanding the past to heal the present, but the skeptics were not easily swayed. "You're stirring up old ghosts, Samuel," one man grumbled from the back. "Margaret's time has passed, we should leave the dead to rest." Samuel felt a surge of frustration, but the spirits still linger. "They seek acknowledgement, a chance to be understood just as we do." Suddenly a loud crash echoed from the back of the hall, and the lanterns flickered violently. A chill swept through the room, sending shivers down their spines. The air thickened, and Samuel felt a presence lurking just outside their perception, a reminder of the past eager to make itself known. The townsfolk gasped as a figure emerged from the shadows, a silhouette clad in a tattered cloak. Samuel's heart raced as the figure stepped into the dim light. Her face was pale, her eyes dark and hollow. It was the apparition of Margaret Hale, her ethereal form flickering like the flame of a candle caught in the wind. "Why have you summoned me?" Her voice echoed through the hall, a haunting melody laced with sorrow and anger. Samuel swallowed hard, his voice barely a whisper. "I sought to tell your story, Margaret. To bring you peace." "I seek no peace," she hissed, her voice rising like a tempest. "I seek justice, my name tainted by lies, my spirit bound to this cursed ground. You think you can unearth the past, but the shadows are still hungry." Screams erupted in the hall and fear washed over the crowd. Samuel stepped forward, compelled by an unseen force. "We can help you. We can confront those who wronged you." Margaret's gaze bore into him, searching his soul. "Then you must face the truth. The guilty ones still walk among you." Break. Chapter 5. The haunting revelations. As Margaret's apparition faded, the room fell into an uneasy silence. Fear clung to the townsfolk like a shroud. Samuel could see the skepticism in their eyes gradually giving way to a dawning realization. Their past was not as buried as they had hoped. "What do we do now?" Clara whispered, her voice trembling. "We confront the past," Samuel replied, his resolve strengthening. "We uncover the truth and seek those who wronged her." With hesitant murmurs, the townsfolk began to disperse, each grappling with the implications of what they had witnessed. Samuel, Eliza, Clara, and Thomas stayed behind, determined to investigate further into the dark legacy that had haunted Eldridge. The following days were filled with research and inquiry. Samuel delved deeper into Margaret's journal, piecing together the fragments of her life. He discovered her ties to several prominent families in Eldridge, families that had benefited from her persecution. Eliza and Clara explored the archives, uncovering more about the witch trials and the individuals who had been complicit in Margaret's downfall. As they sifted through the dusty tomes, whispers of betrayal and greed emerged, echoing Margaret's own words. Meanwhile, Thomas sought out the elders of the town, hoping to gather their accounts of the trials. The stories varied, yet a common theme emerged: a fear of the unknown, a desperate need to conform to societal norms, and the persecution of those who dared to deviate. As they pieced together a narrative, they began to draw connections between the past and the present. It became clear that the legacy of fear had transcended generations, poisoning relationships and stifling the truth. One chilly night, the group gathered at Samuel's home, the lanterns casting flickering shadows on the walls. The atmosphere was heavy with anticipation. "We need to confront those families," Samuel said, his voice resolute. "We have to hold them accountable for the wrongs they committed." Eliza nodded in agreement. "We must seek justice for Margaret and for all those who suffered unjustly." But Thomas hesitated. "What if we awaken something we can't control? The spirits are restless, and Margaret's wrath may be more than we can handle." Clara spoke softly, "But the truth must come to light. It's the only way for Eldridge to heal." As they debated, the wind howled outside, rattling the windows as if echoing their fears. Samuel felt a chill creep into the room, a reminder of Margaret's haunting presence. He knew that they were on the precipice of something monumental, but they needed courage to move forward. Break. Chapter 6, The Reckoning. With determination in their hearts, Samuel, Eliza, Clara, and Thomas decided to confront the families implicated in Margaret's story. They scheduled a town meeting, inviting the descendants of those who had played a role in the witch trials, hoping to foster dialogue and understanding. The night of the meeting arrived, and the town hall buzzed with tension. Samuel stood before the assembled crowd, his heart pounding as he prepared to speak. "We gather here not to condemn the past, but to illuminate it," he began. "The legacy of fear and distrust has lingered long enough. We owe it to Margaret Hale and to ourselves to confront the truth." The room was filled with anxious murmurs, eyes darting between Samuel and the descendants of the accused. "We must acknowledge the pain and suffering caused by the witch trials," he continued. "Margaret was not just a victim, she was a woman who sought knowledge and healing. We cannot allow her legacy to be defined by fear." One of the descendants, an elderly woman with a weary face, spoke up. "My family has lived with the shame of those events for generations. We were taught that Margaret was a danger, but we need to reevaluate our history." Another descendant, a young man, added, "We have a responsibility to honor our ancestors, but that does not mean we should ignore their wrongdoings." As the conversation deepened, Samuel felt an electric charge in the air. The spirits of the past seemed to converge, their energy palpable as the townsfolk grappled with their shared history. Margaret's presence lingered, a reminder of the urgency to seek justice. But amidst the discussions, a sudden gust swept through the hall, extinguishing the lanterns and plunging the room into darkness. Gasps echoed, and panic set in as the shadows deepened. Samuel could feel the weight of despair pressing down, thick and suffocating. "Margaret," he called out, his voice rising above the chaos, "we seek to honor you. Please show us the way." The darkness shifted, and a flicker of light emerged. A ghostly figure appeared before them, more vivid than before. Margaret's spirit glided through the hall, her eyes fierce and filled with sorrow. "You wish to honor me?" she intoned, her voice a haunting melody. Then you must face the truth of your ancestors' crimes. Only then can we find peace. Samuel felt a surge of determination. We will not shy away from the past. We will tell your story, and we will seek justice for all who suffered. As the room pulsed with energy, the townsfolk began to respond. We'll share our stories, one woman declared. We won't let fear dictate our lives anymore. The shadows around them flickered, and Margaret's spirit seemed to soften. Then let the truth set you free, she whispered, her form glowing with a radiant light before dissipating into the ether. Chapter 7, The Dawn of Understanding. In the days that followed the meeting, the town of Eldridge transformed. The townsfolk, emboldened by their experience, began to share their stories, tales of loss, fear, and misunderstanding. They hosted gatherings to discuss the witch trials, inviting historians and storytellers to illuminate the past. Samuel, Eliza, Clara, and Thomas took it upon themselves to create a memorial for Margaret Hale, a place dedicated to healing and remembrance. They envisioned a garden, filled with herbs and flowers once used by Margaret, a sanctuary for the spirits of the past, and a symbol of the town's commitment to understanding its history. As the garden blossomed, the community came together, planting seeds of hope and resilience. The whispers of the past slowly transformed into a new narrative, one of acceptance, reflection, and the promise to honor the truth. On the day of the garden's unveiling, the sun shone brightly, illuminating the faces of the townsfolk as they gathered to celebrate. Samuel stood at the center, his heart swelling with pride as he looked around at the community he had fought to unite. Today, we honor not just Margaret, but all those who suffered in silence, he declared. Let this garden be a reminder that understanding our past is crucial to building a brighter future. As he spoke, a gentle breeze rustled through the flowers, and a faint whisper echoed in the air, a soft, melodic thank you that resonated within their hearts. The spirits of the past had been heard, and for the first time in centuries, a sense of peace enveloped Eldridge. The harvest festival returned that year, but it was different. No longer a celebration of mere abundance, it became a festival of remembrance, a time for honoring the spirits that lingered and the lessons learned. The townsfolk danced, sang, and shared stories, embracing their shared history. As the sun set over Eldridge, casting a warm glow across the cobblestones, Samuel stood in the garden, reflecting on the journey they had undertaken. The shadows of the past had transformed into a tapestry of understanding, an intricate weave of stories that connected them all. And though Margaret Hale's spirit had finally found peace, her legacy would live on in the hearts of those who dared to confront the darkness and seek the light. Our journey ends, yet echoes linger in the corridors of history. Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep the candles burning.